Hello, good afternoon. The lovely Abbey Booth from Stories with Clothes. I'm really excited to talk to you today. Completely different person to have on the podcast. Quite an unusual story and a bit of a pivot, and I'm really excited to kind of get stuck in. So would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Hello everyone. So thanks so much for having me, Bryony. My name's Abbey and my business is Stories with Clothes. I'm a personal stylist and I help women in business and female founders feel more confident, more comfortable in their own skin, and go and get the money, get the bigger stages, get the positions and the authority that they want in their chosen industry.
Very exciting. And you haven't always been in styling, have you? So give us a little bit about your journey and what led you here.
So I started out in sales. So my first job was actually a receptionist. I was a receptionist for a company that made the London taxis. Which was really different role, but it put me kind of front of house. And I think when I went for the interview, I was so naive. I didn't actually figure that I was going to be the first person that everyone spoke to and B for. And it wasn't until I got there and I was like, oh my god, it's like really exposing.
Hello, hi, it's me.
Yeah, and I just wanted to hide. And I think I spent the first 3 months wearing bigger clothes to physically try and hide myself, because I suddenly found it, very intense and very exposing. So I kind of went from there, and I moved to London when I was about 22, 23, and I went to work for the Mirror Group on the 23rd floor in Canary Wharf, and that was like a complete, absolute shift.
Bit of a gear shift.
Yeah. From quite a small village in Suffolk, living in the countryside. At the time I was living on a horse racing yard, so I knew a lot about horse racing because I've been living and breathing it. I used to ride out occasionally on Saturdays, and then suddenly I was on the 23rd floor of Canary Wharf going, oh, how did that happen?
From green fields to very grey buildings.
But when I joined, it's really funny, when I joined, there was one sandwich shop and TM Lewin and a Pret at Canary Wharf, and that was literally it. And it was the year 2000, and that was it. There was nothing else.
Wow, I didn't know Pret had been going that long, actually.
Yeah. It might have been something else, but it was something like that. It's another like coffee type.
Yeah.
And that was all that was there. So if you went out for lunch, you just went to the one place.
There was that one place for lunch.
TM Lewin, and that was it. So complete shift. But that taught me a lot about interacting with people in business, and I was mixing with a lot of people that were a lot older than me and a lot wealthier, that's for sure. And that was a real kind of curveball for me. But I think I learned really quickly then how important style was, because I couldn't compete with them in terms of the level of clothes they were wearing. A lot of my clients were, because I worked on the sports division, which was primarily the Racing Post. They've since sold it, so they don't own it anymore, but at the time they did. So we sat amongst the Mirror Group and all the other newspapers, we were quite distinct, and people didn't really understand what the Racing Post did. It's like, oh, it's those horse racing guys and girls, like, oh,
the horsey people.
Yeah, the horsey people leave them alone. Kind of just got on with it. So although we were part of them, it was a bit of a them and us. We were quite separate in a way. And my clients particularly were very, very wealthy, very well-established people in horse racing and the bloodstock industry, which is sort of the breeding part of horse racing. And you can't do that unless you're, pretty wealthy. And so, that really taught me a huge amount about trying to mingle and mix with these people. And I couldn't compete in terms of the level of clothes they were wearing. So what I did was, I used to go shopping in vintage places, which at the time, sort of 25 odd years ago, wasn't particularly cool. All my friends were like, oh, what are you doing? People have worn that before. But it made me really unique, and it made me stand out. And it meant that I got quite well known for my outfits, so people would kind of look out for me at events. And for me, it was a way in. It was an open door, whereas before that door had been very firmly closed. So I learned a lot about how important and integral style was to get you into places and in the right rooms and in the right spaces. So that was my first real, this is important.
This is something I like doing. Was there any absolute favourite standout outfits from that era?
Oh my God, I've still got one of the dresses. I mean, this is probably a really funny example, but I'm going to share it anyway because, it shows that we all kind of make mistakes. But I bought this beautiful dress. It was vintage lace, and it had been lace that was found in a factory. So some people had come across it when they were building the factory into flats, I'm imagining. And it was a lace factory. They found all of these reams of lace. I think it was from the 1800s or something. It was really old, and it was in perfect condition. and a lady bought it and she made them into dresses. And she made each piece different. And I bought about 3 of those dresses because they were just extraordinary. And my favourite one was a backless one. I loved backless pieces at the time. I can't do that now because I need a bra to like. You're young and you just sort of get on with it. And I wore this incredible dress to a beautiful cocktail party in Deauville in France. And it's real kind of racing elite there. Lester Piggott was there and Omar Sharif was there, and it was crazy. And anyway, I was standing there and someone said to me, "Oh yes, your dress is lovely, but we can kind of see everything." And I was like, "Oh, that's a bit of a strange comment." And I realised the sunlight was coming in and the dress was sheer, and I was not wearing a bra. The most cringe moment ever, I would say. And I was like, what do I do? Because we were staying in a hotel about 10 miles away, so I couldn't go and change. And I went to the toilets, and I think where we were, it was in a room where the sunlight was streaming through, and I think it was just the level of light, because in the toilets I couldn't see anything, and I thought, so in the end I thought I just had to hold a glass strategically over my boobs and
your breasticles.
and just try and just sort of style it out really. So yeah, that was a bit of a difficult moment because I was really aware then of how much everyone could see. So I then had the dress lined, so it's still backless, but she lined it with a petticoat and cut the back out and then sewed it in for me so that I could protect my modesty.
I love that. I mean, we've all had some fashion disasters for sure, and something's showing or something leaks if you're a mum, or you've had some kind of disaster. But fast forward, and you now have there's a couple of things that then happened after that, right? So at what point did you open your boutique?
So I went on maternity leave from the Racing Post to have my daughter, and at the time there was very few women there, so we had an incredible maternity package because hardly anyone took it because there wasn't that many women there. So it was a year full pay, which was amazing, all my bonuses. And so I had an amazing year with my daughter and I just absolutely loved it. And I thought, oh, how can I go back? There was a lot of travel. So I was always travelling, a lot of weekend work, evening work, because the paper went to bed at sort of 8 o'clock. And I just thought, how can I manage this? We had no family living nearby. My daughter had been on a waiting list before she was born for a nursery and still hadn't got a place. And I thought, I just can't make this work. My husband had just got a promotion. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take a bit of time out. I've worked really, really hard for them for 12 years. I'm actually just going to enjoy this and see what happens. And so I left, and the following week got a call and someone phoned me and said, do you want to come and work for us 2 days a week? And they basically wanted my racing contacts. And I was like, yeah. And I went and did that for about a year. And then my husband decided he'd had enough of London. He literally just woke up one morning and was like, I'm done here. I want to leave. And I was like, oh, really? I don't think I'll ever have enough of London. I love it. That like a top. I really would. But he had enough. And I thought, at the time I was pregnant with our second child, my son. And I thought, well, do you know what? If he's had enough, I've got two, under 2. And actually it would give me a bit more flex. Then we won't have such an expensive mortgage. And I can maybe just have a bit more time and retrain. So that's what I decided to do. So we left. We built a house, which I project managed with 2 kids under 2, which was horrendous. I do not recommend that to anyone. But the point was we did it and we still live here and it's an amazing house and we all absolutely adore it. So it was worth it. And after that, I was like, right, I didn't actually take the time out that I'd intended to. What am I going to do now? And I retrained and became a visual merchandiser, so window dressing essentially. And I dressed a lot of boutique windows in my area, which was amazing because I could go in sort of 10 till 2, depending on the size of the window. And I'd sometimes do re-merchandising in store for them as well to help them earn more money. And I think that's what set me apart is I'm a really visual creative person, but I've also got kind of quite a lot of commercial awareness
background. Yeah.
And I think it really helped because I think a lot of boutique owners, they're there for the fashion and the clothes, and that's great. You've actually got to sell it and you've got to be getting people in. And I'm fascinated with the psychology of what makes people buy something. And I think that just really works so beautifully. But after a few years of doing that, I realised that mannequins don't talk to you. It's quite I was in the window, like just moving mannequins around. I was really interested in what was going on the shop floor in the changing rooms. And one of the ladies who owned this very expensive, beautiful boutique said, "Why don't you just come and do a morning for me in store and see what you think? You know, the customers really love you." And I just loved it. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I'd never worked in a shop prior to that. And I did that in conjunction with the visual merchandising. By then I was doing some fabric shop windows along Berwick Street in London. Sadly, there used to be, I think, 8, and now there's now 1 left. It's devastating. And that taught me so much about fabric, because I basically had to design a dress to put in the window. And I was like, so I learned a lot about how fabric works and drapes on the female form, which was hugely useful for what I do now. And that's what led me into running my own boutique, because I saw a gap in the market in my local town, and I thought, I think I can have something that really serves the people in this community and makes them feel beautiful and worthy and valid, and that doesn't cost the earth. I think that's the thing. There was lots of boutiques that were very high end, very expensive, and a little bit snooty, I'm going to say, look down at people. And I just thought, why are people in shops looking down at women coming in here? That they're sometimes coming in feeling really low, or they're just having a bad day, or actually maybe they just want to enjoy their shopping experience. Why are we then making them feel guilty? Women already experience a lot of guilt and shame around their bodies, around spending money, around enjoying time for themselves. And I really wanted to change all that, and I felt like I could, and I did. And it was brilliant and I loved it. But oh my God, it was an education. Having never run a shop before, I had to learn extremely quickly and on my feet. And it was a real education.
Bit of a baptism of fire, was it?
Yeah.
Because it's quite a shift, isn't it? And so then you had the shop for a while, and now you are the proud called Don't Save It for Best, which I bloody love that sentiment, because honestly, I'm the girl that's spritzing the perfume, don't care how expensive it is. I'm like, get that perfume on me on a daily basis. So tell us about what you do now.
So now I am a full-time personal stylist, and I work with, like I said earlier, women in business primarily, and female founders who kind of want to elevate their business, or have realised that actually they're the front of their business, they're the brand, and they want to sort of step up and match where their business has gone. So a lot of the time it's women whose businesses have grown extraordinarily quickly and suddenly feel that huge disconnect between how they're showing up, or how they want to show up, and how they feel they are actually showing up. And I think that's kind of my superpower. And the book sort of bridges the gap between the people that I can't reach and can't work with one-to-one because of either where they live or circumstances, situations. And I wanted to be able to give them some light and some inspiration and some tools, not rules, guidance and support. Because I think as women, we go through so many changes, and our bodies change quite often throughout the day, let alone weeks, months, years. Our careers change, our mindset changes, our confidence changes through, having a family, career changes, pivots, relocations, moving, menopause. I mean, there's so many things we contend with. And I think it's really easy for us to lose our sense of identity and our sense of who we are and who we were. And style is just a brilliant way back into that. And it gives you something that's yours and nobody else owns it or has it.
And it's hard to argue, isn't it? Because when you put something on, if you love it or you don't.
Yeah.
Like you can't, it's not something you can really fake. You can definitely put on that power suit and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be really powerful, but you definitely feel it in your body before your brain knows what's going on. Like you either feel great in something or you feel slightly awkward.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's that's what I'm really interested in, that elevation between being okay and suddenly, it's the body language. It's every time, and it's women taking up space, and we need more women in positions of power, positions of authority, earning more money, being able to effect change where we need it. And I think it's all part and so intrinsic in helping other women. Most of the women that I work with also work with other women, they're leadership coaches or whatever it might be. So they are also helping other women. And if they're feeling more confident, more capable, and are able to step into the spaces they need to be, and then in turn they're reaching other women, and it just goes on and on like that. So that's the way I see it, and I felt like the book was a brilliant way to reach more of those people.
So interesting, because you call yourself a full-time stylist, personal stylist, but actually you're also a bit of a confidence coach, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, everyone calls themselves a coach these days, so take it.
Well, yeah, well, definitely. I think there's definitely something in that, because it is, and I think a lot of the people that book me are not actually setting out to look for a stylist. They just know there needs to be some shift,
Need
and
some help.
yeah, and it's something I've said, or it's something someone else has said, like, oh, go and talk to Abby. And when we've had the discussion, they're like, oh, yeah, that's what I need. Because it's, style can take you somewhere before you feel ready. And we're always ready, by the way. We always think we're not as women. We always feel like we've got to be 100%. Men think they can do it with 40%, but we think we've got to be, perfection.
There's a statistic.
Yeah.
There's a statistic that says when men go into a room, particularly with investment, when they go into a room to raise or when they go into a room for a promotion, they will typically enhance, elevate, make their numbers bigger to kind of show that they're like the boss.
Yeah.
And it's not true of every man and it's not true of every woman, but women typically, or statistically, stereotypically, will be very conservative. And we have been conditioned to be kind of quieter, the good girl, sitting around the table. I've always been a huge fan of shoes, colour, I used to really struggle with, back in the day before COVID, we had dress down Fridays. Oh, what the stress that I had, because I'm a dress up girl. I'm really not good at dressing down. And actually, when I became a mum, I was like, what am I supposed to wear? Like leggings all the time?
Yeah.
And I do have a lot of pairs of leggings now, but from a career perspective, and I've got one fabulous orange Hugo Boss suit that I love to put on. It makes me feel like $1 million every time I put it on, and I feel really confident in it. But there's a secret to that, isn't there? There's a little bit of secret sauce in there. It's not just going out and buying yourself this brand new bright orange suit. It's about having someone else in your corner going, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel good? What do you need to tweak? Let me help you. And I think that's something that's such a wonderful thing that you do and give to your community and people that work with you. So I can't wait to read the book. I haven't read it yet. I'm looking forward to where can we buy it?
So you can go to any bookshop. You'll need to order it from them, but it's listed on all the main wholesale sites, such as Gardeners and Ingram Spark, which are the two really big ones. It's on Amazon. You can go and obviously get it and just order it via Amazon, and that's great because it helps me get up and we've hit bestseller list on I think 2.
Go buy it now, people.
But if you are near a bookshop or you have a local bookshop, even though it doesn't kind of help my statistics, I really want people to support their local independent bookshops, because bookshops saved my life in the past. They're just such a haven and they really need our support. And I know it's so easy and convenient to go on Amazon, but if you are near a local bookshop and you have one that you do support, then I'd love for you to go and order it. And I've got loads of my clients and customers who are going out and doing that. And I love that because, again, it's just that ripple effect.
That's such a lovely, I love that. Definitely go to your local bookstore, go and order it. Yeah, support local.
Yeah, it helps me get into those bookshops, which potentially means I could then go and do an author event with them. But it's a cyclical thing because every bookshop I know is owned by women around here. So again, it's okay. You can go into any bookshop. Yeah, it doesn't have to be owned by a woman, but often they are owned by women, and I just think it's such a beautiful thing to be able to support them. So yeah.
So for someone coming into or who hasn't worked with you before, or maybe they're like thinking about doing something about career progression, or maybe a pivot, or maybe they're in between roles right now and they're thinking about, I don't feel like I'm showing up in a really kind of positive way. I'm not feeling that confident. Have you got like 3 top tips that you could give women to start with? Or is there something that's like your go-to bit of advice where they can start?
Yeah, I always think start with what you've already got. I think the tendency really is that, oh my God, I need all new things. And for some clients it is shopping and getting a few new pieces, but for others it's about looking what you've already got in your wardrobe. So I always think, have a look what you've got in your wardrobe, think about how you want to feel. That's another top tip, is like, how do I want to feel? Is it that I want to feel more powerful, or is it that I want to feel more comfortable, or whatever it is? And then see what you've already got in your wardrobe. Another tip I can share is to plan outfits. So try and prep and plan them the night before if you can, and just make a note of things that feel great and that you look great in, you feel great in, and you feel like, oh yeah, that was a really good one. Like for you, it's your orange boss suit, and that, and it's so wonderful to have those pieces that are like your friends when you need them. But I think if you can prep and plan an outfit, it gets you to really understand your wardrobe more and also understand what you like, but also what you don't like, because then you can make better choices for yourself moving forward. And then the final bit is less clothes does not mean less outfits. I think we're fearful of getting rid of things because we think, oh my God, will I have enough? But do you know what? Actually, what it does sometimes is creates clarity for you when you've got less overwhelm in the wardrobe. So don't be afraid to get rid of things that are no longer serving you and create mental clarity and physical clarity as well.
Oh, I love that, Abby, because I'm a terrible hoarder of clothes. So actually, often if I've got less in the wardrobe, I find it easier to put things together. Have you got any like two key pieces that you always go really well with something, or that like particularly for the workplace?
I mean, I do. I think a suit is a great piece, and I know we've sort of moved away from wearing suits more now because we don't have to wear suits in corporate environments particularly. But I still think there is something beautiful about putting a suit on, and they're not for everybody, but they can be a real workhorse because obviously you can wear them as separates. And you can make them as casual as you like. It's as easy as putting kind of a trainer on with it and then swapping it out for a sandal on holiday or a heel for a work thing. So I think having those pieces that can do multitasking for you, especially if you travel a lot for work, that can be hugely useful. So I think don't discount a suit. If it feels, I know I've got a lot of clients who've worked in corporate a long time, they're like, oh no, it feels too good. But then it's the way that we find a suit,
Yeah.
You could do a colourful suit, you could do a textured suit. It doesn't have to be to feel corporate-y or old-fashioned. But I think that those are just sometimes some real great workhorses. I mean, this is my gold suit. And
I mean, you love colour, don't you? You absolutely live and breathe colour. You can't look at you and not feel happy. And I actually stole a little bit of a tip from you recently because I wore a lemon suit to a workshop delivery, and I won't lie, I was panicking. When I arrived, I spilt coffee all down my leg in front of the entire room. But actually, one of them said to me at the end, was that part of your set? And I was like, well, no, but it obviously made me more human because I was there in this beautiful polished suit and I felt amazing. But actually, they probably thought, wow, because they were quite a casual office.
Right.
But I felt like human sunshine walking down the street, and it was absolutely pissing down with rain outside, and I wore it anyway.
You were literally, human sunshine. I think, yellow makes people smile. Yellow is the colour that people are the most afraid of, without a shadow of a doubt. It comes up time and time again because it's really noticeable and really obvious, and people are frightened of it. But actually, when they see it on other people, it often does make people smile and it makes them feel something. And I think that's a beautiful thing. If we can walk around making other people smile, I think that's gorgeous. I think let's do it more, we're living in a crazy, terrifying world. And I think if we can bring a bit of sunshine to someone else's life and our own, then let's do it. Let's bring the human sunshine.
And final tip from you. So thinking about, and because you've touched on something there that I think comes up for all of us, there are those moments of self-doubt. There's those moments of, if I wear this, am I going to stand out? But actually we're living in quite a saturated world, aren't we? And in order to feel confident, sometimes we have to shift something. So nothing will change if we don't change something, I always say. And so if you're in that space, maybe you're in a workplace where everybody is super cash and you want to try something else out new, or is there any kind of tips that you would give someone that just is dipping their toe into maybe a bit more colour? Because London does tend to look quite grey and black a lot of the time. Do you think that can really elevate somebody's personal brand, actually? Because you call it stories with clothes, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm fascinated about the story of the woman behind the clothes and how I can evoke her story so that she can get to where she wants to get to. So that's why I called the business that, because the stories are important and it's different for everybody. Colour won't always work for everybody. But you can bring personality and you can bring your sense of your own identity to a look through so many different ways. And I think if you're dipping your toe in and you're feeling a bit exposed, or like you're going to turn up to work and everyone's going to be like, oh, look, she's seen a stylist, or what's she doing? And that feels a bit much, then you can you implement it really gradually. So it might be that you wear a bold shoe, because only a few people will notice. And I tell you what, once you do that and you realise, oh, the world didn't end, nobody laughed at me, actually what happened was people came and talked to me, Oh, amazing. Your style is an invitation to people. It draws people in, because often if you're at an event or perhaps you're networking, they want to come and talk to you, but they might be a bit intimidated. You mentioned about your lemon suit, and perhaps people felt a bit intimidated by you, and that just being real just broke that sort of barrier down. And style can really do that for you, because people will come and say, oh, I like your nails, or oh, I love those earrings, or I can't tell you how many conversations have started with me because of, it's usually these three things. It's the earrings, the glasses, or the nails, or the combination. And then they're talking to me, and that's a way in. So you can absolutely do that yourself with the small things if you want to sort of implement it gradually. Lipstick is a really great place to start as well. Just sort of getting a bolder lip, sometimes that can really change things. Even just a top under a plainer suit, like a bolder top. And that's what I call blocking out. So it's if you're a bit like, oh God, this colour feels a bit bold to me, then you block it out. So you put a layer over the top like that. So there's only a small bit. And you would be surprised how quickly it is to go from here to here when you implement things slowly and gradually. And once you get over that fear of, oh, the world didn't end, nobody laughed at me, actually what happened, people came and complimented me, and it was really rather lovely. And then it's that little boost of confidence that we just so desperately need sometimes. And then you're away, and then you're like, where's the limit? There is no limit.
Have you prepped? So you prep people for stage as well, don't you?
Yes, yeah, I do. And for photo shoots, so for brand photo shoots where they really have noticed they need an elevation in how they're portraying themselves. And I love that element of my business, because you do really see the difference and the growth and the trajectory of that person's confidence going from here to here. So yeah, those are the elements that I really love.
Amazing tips from you, Abbey. Thank you so much for being so generous with your advice and your time. What I would just like to finish on is, what do you do to take care of yourself? What are your wellness techniques?
Oh, so I've got a few, because I started suffering really bad anxiety about 2 years ago when kind of menopause kicked in for me, and it was I'd never experienced it before. I felt like I was dying sometimes. It was awful. And I've carried these on. So I do a thing that I call plant watch with my cat in the mornings. And I am turning into a mad cat lady, but I'm all in. I'm going mad cat lady, bring it on. And so the first thing I do in the morning is I make myself a coffee with my cafetiere, so that just slows me down. And then my cat literally waits by the back door for me to do this. And we go out into the garden, come rain or shine. If it's raining, she sometimes does watch me from the back door. But we do a loop around the garden, and we literally talk to the plants. So we're like,
oh, I love that.
Really, my husband watches from his office, and he's like, it literally is like you two are having a conversation. Chirrups and meows, and it's just a lovely way to start the day. It just sort of, I don't know, it's really grounding and it's really lovely. And I love that when we go away and we have a cat sitter, she makes them do it. And I love, yeah. And we see her on the camera, we're like, oh, she's making them do
Plant watch will not die when we're on holiday.
Definitely not. She's like, oh, we've got to protect these damn plants.
That's brilliant. I love it. Everybody, go and buy the book from your local bookstore. Love that. Support local. Thank you very much, Abbey, for your time. Really appreciate you. And if you're looking to elevate your style, get more confident, boost your personal brand for anything that you've got coming up in your career, then you know where to find Abbey Booth at Stories with Clothes.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.
Thanks, Abbey.
Thank you.